imaginary line. You understand that, right? We just kind of said, this is where it is. But isn't it amazing, although the line may be imaginary, once drawn, it actually takes on a characteristic much more than imaginary, you know? Of course, because all of a sudden, if you're not within those boundaries, then all of a sudden, you become what? Whom? Either enemy, even if not an enemy. So everybody within the boundary is considered to be what? We, us, right? Everybody outside that boundary is then whom? Them. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have this imaginary line, and all of a sudden, people become a them. We've never met them, but they are they. But if we were to take that argument and make it a little bit more smaller and smaller, smaller, like I keep saying, right? Why is it that we are able to, again, not be able to? Why is it that we're able not to smooth out the contradictions of these ideas, like we talked about yesterday, right? We have no problem talking about people from other countries as if they're truly them. And it's a little bit less than that way when we talk about people from different states. But still, sometimes we do, right? We talk about people from like what? Like Massachusetts, being different from California. But then you start talking about NorCal, SoCal, right? As if like there's really like NorCal and SoCal, right? Like so people who live in Southern California like drive up to Northern California and the ground trembles beneath you. You know, like they're like, get out of here, God damn it. No. Now let's make that even more smaller. County. All of a sudden we're like, we don't even know which county we live in. We don't even know county boundaries. And then cities, right? And then think about the absurdity of, I don't know how many of you walk around and go like this, like, you know, we've heard so much people saying, USA, USA, USA. I hardly ever see people walk around going, La Mesa, La Mesa, La Mesa, right? El Cajon, El Cajon. What? How absurd is that? And yet, those contradictions kind of go unscathed. So then we are not angry at people from El Cajon, traversing the city like limits, coming all the way out to like San Diego and using our beaches, right? They should stay in El Cajon. The idea is that they're landlocked. Stay there. And how absurd is this? It's pretty absurd. But again, we don't go to that extent of regional and so on and so forth. But when it comes to national, all of a sudden, we then have this identity. So let me ask you, what is our national identity that we so cherish, that we so believe that we are part of? So let me ask you, who is an American? Who's an American? For sure.
Someone that's more likely from immigrant status family, that America has become a melting pot of diversity.
That may be true, but when I say who's an American, what image shows up? An image of...
You see a redneck with a shotgun
well,
and watching football.
Maybe. But what I'm getting at is when we talk about an American, although it may be true that we value our immigration history, right? When we talk about an American, those are not the faces that would actually pop up as an image of an all-American. And by the way, when I say an all-American, I don't think it would be somebody with a reddish neck. You know what I'm saying? Right? So then the idea is, what does it mean to be an American? And what is it about being an American that we identify with? What is it about being an American that we identify with? The reason why I'm bringing this up, folks, is very important. Because once we actually identify X, Y, and Z as being an American, and we say that's what we kind of all identify with, then you realize it's hard to go back against that. So for example, America is identified with what? Communism?
Freedom. Democracy.
Thank you. So you know what? America is identified with freedom. So think about this, folks. If America is identified with freedom, and all of us are considered to be Americans, that by itself almost makes it seem as if we all support freedom. Okay, so then the idea is, you know what? As Americans, we are embodiment of freedom. We're embodiment of freedom. You know, I asked you, I want you to actually start to, engage in basic kind of thinking processes and logic and those kind of things. What the hell is this? What is this?